and today it happens to be another tutorial on the course CSS112. And in today's tutorial we're going to be wrapping up things on the course as we are tilting towards revision and study of our keynotes. Okay, with this being said, let's hop straight into it. Okay, so okay, I think I need to close the part right to right. Okay, right, now let's proceed. So we have C. Okay, I think we need one more space. Yep, and we are good to go. CSS112. That's a course code. CSS112, and we're going to be dissecting from where we're going to be taking our bearing. We're going to be dissecting, all right, the relation of law and force. All right, the relation of law and force. Okay, now when we talk about law, in our retrospective class we've made mention, all right, of the definition of law several times, and just to, all right, brush through, all right, just to touch it a little bit. Now let's take our bearing from force. All right, force. Now relation of law and force. Relation of law and force. Now, force is another concept which is closely associated. All right, it is close associate of law. All right, force is closely associated, all right, with law. All right, it consists, all right, speaking of law, when we say law, what are we talking about? We are simply talking about that body of rules of conduct. All right, the body of rules of conduct. All right, that body of rules of conduct which members of the society recognize, well recognized. This body of rule of conduct is recognized, all right, by the people, all right, of the society. Recognize body of rules or conduct recognized, all right, by the members of the society, all right, by the members of society. All right, this body of rule, all right, it is no use of having a law if it's not generally acknowledged. All right, if it's not generally acknowledged, then it's not a law. Because if somebody perpetrates, all right, if somebody go against the law, all right, the person can say, okay, I never had an idea of this kind of thing existed. All right, so it must be recognized, all right, by the member of society. All right, recognized and considered. All right, so it must be recognized by the member, all right, of the society. All right, and must be duly observed. All right, they must see it as obligation, that it is my responsibility to observe the law. It is my obligation to observe the law. Now, ordinarily, we understand force to mean the power or ability to enforce one's will. All right, this is law. All right, when we say force, now we mean it, all right, to be the power or ability, the power or the power or the ability, okay, the power or the ability, all right, to what? Enforce one's will, to enforce one's will, all right. The power or the ability to enforce one's will is what we refer to as, all right, force ordinarily. Now, it is the power to make people act in conformity, all right. It's like you are manipulating people to act in conformity with your demand, regardless of other people's wishes, all right. Speaking of force, it says here the power to make people act, all right. The power to make people act, all right. The power to make people act, all right, in conformity with one's demand, in conformity with one's demand, all right, not putting into consideration, okay, without putting into consideration other people's wishes, all right, other people's wishes, okay. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed. Let me get my duster close. Now, okay, and it is said to be that force is a negation of law, all right, and resource to violence is extraneous element outside the law, all right. Force is a negation of law, and resource to violence is a what? An extraneous element out of the law, right? The law does not encourage that. Now we have that as that. So let's proceed, as we will be looking at the relation of law to justice. Relation of law to justice. The relation of law to justice. Now, okay, so we have now, speaking of which, relation of law to justice is simply talking about how law, let's not forget, we talked about a body law as a body, all right, charged with the responsibility, a body of rules and regulation, all right, that is responsible for guiding, all right, how a society should behave, all right, and this society acknowledge, all right, these rules and regulations as, all right, as law. Okay, now we have justice. Now, relation of law to justice. Now, law to justice, the relationship between them is how can law help to bring to book those that flout the law, all right, they bring it to book the, all right, offenders, all right, or those who flouts the law, all right. Justice ensures that as or many offenders, all right, who kicked against the law, they are being brought to book, and for as many who has been victim of cases, all right, they are granted justice. Okay, now we have law and freedom, All right. So now laws are okay, as we presume, right? As we said earlier on, conducts, all right, which a conduct which tell people what to do and what not to do. And we have freedom on the other hand, all right, means the ability to do what one wishes. All right. So now law in relation to freedom now, we have it as relation of law to freedom. Law itself has its own role and freedom has its own role as well. Okay, just like we said now, a conduct that tells you what to do and what not to do, that is law. All right, and freedom is, all right, the ability to what? Not be constrained. All right, ability to do what you wish without being constrained. All right, now because you have this privilege doesn't mean you can misbehave, or because you have this privilege called freedom, this ability doesn't mean they are not checks, they are not measurements, all right, there are nothing in place to put you in check. No. Now the relation between these two is that law helps with your freedom and with your rights. All right, the law helps to put you in check. All right, give you a guide, all right, which if you misuse this freedom, all right, you can be denied this freedom. All right, if you don't use this freedom properly, it can be taken away from you. All right, the law is what to determine that. All right, so the relation between the two of them is that with the factor of freedom, law is there to checkmate it. All right, law is there to checkmate the freedom. Okay. Now, not the liberty to do whatever, all right, one wants, but the liberty to do one wants within the limits imposed by the law. All right, the liberty to do, all right, whatever one wants, whatever one wants, all right, within the limits imposed, within the limits imposed by the law. All right, there's a limit imposed by the law whereby your freedom, all right, doesn't go beyond that. If it goes beyond that, then your freedom will be taken away or might be taken away from you. All right, so we have some of these freedom are freedom to life, we have freedom to dignity of human person. All right, when we say freedom to life, everyone has a right to life, and this is perhaps the most basic of all rights. All right, the right to life is the most basic of all rights, and we have that we have as well right to dignity of human person. Okay, dignity of human person. Nobody is to be subjected to torture, all right, or inhuman treatments. Talking about right to what? Dignity, all right, of human person. All right, and no one is to be held in slavery or servitude or forced to perform compulsory labor. All right, that is right to human dignity of person. So let's proceed. Now we have law and the rule of law. Law and the rule of law. We have law and the rule of law. Okay, in the simplest meaning, rule of law, all right, rule of law is said to be things, all right, are, it means that things are done in society according to the law, all right. The activities, all right, in a society, all right, follow the law, all right, follows in line with the law, rather than the whims and caprices of man, or arbitrarily. Now, the activities in a society follows the law, all right, rather than, all right, the mere wishes, rather than mere wishes. All right, but the bottom line here, the most important thing here is that when the activity, rule of law, when a structure is put down, all right, and this activity that happens in society follows the demands of the law, all right, so we have that as that. All right, so let's look at the definition of AVDIC. AVDIC categorizes it into three. All right, first, there must be absolute supremacy or predominance of regular law over arbitrary law. All right, we talk about supremacy. All right, supremacy. Talked about equality. All right, and we have independence of, let me say, judicial independence. I think it's better that way. Judicial independence. Judicial independence, meaning that the courts can handle issues on their own without external interference. All right, that is what JAV Dicey said about the topic sentence. Okay, now let's proceed. Now let's take note of these abbreviations. Okay. Now we have WACA. Okay, now this means the West African Court of Appeal. All right, West Africa Court of Appeal. All right, so we have that as that, and we also have JCPC. JPCP, we are simply talking about Judicial Commission of Private Councils. All right, The judicial committee, that's JC, not JP, JC, PC. All right, and it says here judicial committee, all right, of the private council. All right, judicial committee of the privy council. All right, judicial committee, I beg your pardon, of the privy council. All right, judicial committee of the privy council. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed straight ahead. Also, we have CPC, okay, and that stands for Criminal Procedure Code. Criminal Procedure what? Code. And also we have Criminal Procedure Act. All right, we have criminal. I think I write this clearly. Okay, so we have that as that, and you can see the abbreviations and their full meaning. Please let's take note of this. All right, let's take note of this. Now let's proceed. So we have WAFF, that's the West African Frontier Force. West Africa Frontier Force. Okay, that is WAF. WAF. West Africa, all right, Frontier Force. Frontier, all right, Force, as the full name of AAF, WAFF. All right, so we have that as that. Now we have what we refer to as the ICCPR. All right, ICCPR is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. All right, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. International Covenant. Covenant on, right, on civil and political rights. all right, international covenant, all right, covenant on or referred to as civil, all right, on civil and civil and what we refer to as political rights. Civil and, write this clearly, political or civil and political rights. And we have one called CEDAW. CEDAW. Alright, CEDAW. So we have Convention on the Elimination of All of Discrimination Against Women. Alright, it's a long one. Convention on the Elimination. Convention on the Elimination. Alright, Convention of the Elimination, right, of elimination of all okay, forms of discrimination, of all forms of discrimination, all right, against who? Against women. So we have that as that. So let's take one or two. We'll call it the wrap for tonight. And we have United Nations. Now let's take note of this analysis. All right. Now we have 12 states was created by then head of state by Gowon. Okay, it was increased to 19 by alright, by Mutala. Alright, and 21 by Obasanjo. Alright, then it moves to 30. 30 was by Babangida. Alright, and increased to 36, alright, by Abacha. Okay, as you can see the processes, as we have 12 by 1, alright, after the Civil War, alright, in plan to forestall all war and encourage unity, more states were created, alright, and we have by 12 by 1, by 19 by Mutala, by 21 by Passenger, by 30 by Babangida, and 36 is who we refer to as Abacha. Okay, now let's take note of this, is that during the military regime, alright, we refer to, alright, edicts. Alright, during the military regime, we refer to decrees, alright, okay, now we have and civilian or military or civilian administration. Okay. We have edit. Okay. Now we have not here is states, military government, and here is federal military government. All right. So at the state level is what we refer to as edit, and at the other level, to the federal level, is what we refer to as edit, and the other one is decrease. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. I believe you're able to get a thing or two into this class, and we've been able to conclude with the course CSS112, and I believe by the ending of this revision, all be set up for our exams. So this being said, let's hop straight into it, and I look forward to seeing you subsequent to it. Have a wonderful night, evening. Bye.